Okay, let's get quiet. Let's get quiet. So if you sent me an email and you haven't gotten a response that day, unless you sent it like at 11 o'clock at night when I fall asleep, but I respond with that day. I try and respond quickly. Tuesday and Thursday, you're gonna get an answer pretty quick. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have class from 9 to 4, so it will be after 4, which then means it's after dinner, which it could be 8 o'clock at night before I sit down. But if you haven't gotten an email like within that day, there's a student named Michelle Frederick, and she does have a middle initial that's in there, but she's getting a lot of my emails. So if you didn't hear back from me, she probably has it. What you want to make sure, I am the only one that doesn't have a student one. I'm the only instructor with M. Frederick. So if it has at student, then it's the wrong person. My husband said I could change it and put Jacobson, but I don't want to write M. Frederick Jacobson. Too long. So be careful of that. If I haven't responded to you, last night I responded to everyone that sent. Actually, I even looked this morning before my class. So up till 8 a.m. today, if you didn't get a response, I didn't get it. It went to somebody else.
So I just checked, I sent you 2 emails within the line of things to that meeting, but I know you got a lot of files.
But I shouldn't.
I literally just looked and it's not.
But what is that for?
That's about.
I could decide that. Yeah, because I always try and even just like if you send me homework, I try and say got it or something to let you know that I got it. Yeah, sometimes I don't know, but I do know when I got home Monday night, I had 42 emails from students that I had to go through. So if I missed something, I am sorry. If you do not hear from me, and that could definitely happen, and it may not have went to her, it could have went to me. But if that does happen, send me a text. I think you might have missed my email. This is in your name, and then I'll search for it. But I try and get back, but that could happen. It could also went to junk mail. Always send from your YSU mail, never send from another one because they will put it in the junk. And I'm not supposed to respond to one from that's not from YSU. You can put my number in your phone, in your speed dial. But this is also in the syllabus. It's every single email you get from me. My phone number's at the bottom. My email's at the bottom. My office number is at the bottom. Which reminds me, what do you have? You have something to. Oh, introduce yourself. So if you are not going to do the introduce yourself, you need to do the scavenger hunt. It's 10 simple points. I just had a student insisting they were in my office yesterday, but I was there from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I never left. So I'm like, you're at the wrong room. Anyways, it is those who have come, it is winding. It can get confusing, and that's why you need to find it now and not when you're struggling. But any questions on anything else? Exam, I sent an email out yesterday. The exam is 3 weeks from Friday. If you do want full credit for anything that you have missed, it needs to be in by that day. So 3 weeks from Friday. Most weeks for the co-rec class, there will be 2 assignments. One's co-rec and one's the regular assignment. I didn't before because we were just starting and then we didn't have school on Monday. So it just started this week. Okay. Let's do the co-rec first. Screen too. So these would not necessarily need any work except for the last one. You should be able to just fill these in. It's things you should know before they go. Still seems like it's glaring. Huh? I'm gonna zoom the first. Sorry. I'm not the only one that does that though. In my other classroom, someone actually circled and drew a line. It wasn't me. Anyways. Okay. I don't know, kind of torn. Do you want to put the answers up on the board, like, or do you just want to say them? What I was thinking, if I put like the first 5 up here, whoever goes up and writes in an answer gets on the test. So, number 1, write the answer, and next to it, put, the guy would put M Frederick. And then I'll just take a picture so then I know who gets the point. So whoever wants an extra point on the test, go up and put the answer. Oh yeah, 1 per person.
Pretty good.
Okay. Oh, don't forget to put your name.
Just making sure for the sample, no, it's intentional like that.
The exponent would be negative, yep.
You got the zeros before it, right?
Except for the one that's before the decimal.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm. And that, like, where are you gonna put it at? Go ahead and write it up here. What are you putting? Uh-huh. Where's the decimal? If you're not, 1 and 10. There you go. And now. No. The negative's gonna go up here. But I don't know if the four's right, let's make it harder. Want to put the decimal here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, but we need to go one more. Yep. No, it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. 5, and then she'll get my points. Number 1, 4, 5. That would make it a percent. Now we could go from the percent over fractions. Or, so we have this. What position is the 5? Like this is 10. And that's 7. Uh-huh. So you could put 45 over 100 and then reduce. Okay, so we have the 45 over 100. I'm going to try to get it right. 45 over 100. And we can put further. Now, what number can go into both of those? And if we don't know the largest, we at least know. Well, I know. Well, but 45 more isn't different. What number goes in? We could divide both of these by 5. That's okay. Okay, it's nervous being up here. Okay, wait. There's nothing that goes in the 9 and 20. So you're done. Right. Exactly. They don't go to my point of view. That have what? You have been there, Selena? I don't think so. At least not this. So does everyone agree with the 9 over 20? Yeah, we got it. Because the decimal 0.45, this is the 5's in the 100th position. You can put it over 100, so 45 over 100. But then you have to be able to reduce it. So you needed to find a number that went into both of them, and it would be 5. Now, maybe you do it more than once if you can't find the largest one. But in this case, 45 divided by 5 is 9, 100 divided by 5 is 20. There's nothing that goes into 9 and 20, because 3 goes into 9, but not 20. 4 goes into 20, but not 9. Has to go into both of them. 2. 6.35%. How did we get the 0.0635? Anyone?
5 divided 6.355.
Divide by 100, or you move the decimal to the left 2. How do we get 12.5%? A little bit harder one. How can we make 1/8 a decimal?
Dividing one by,
Mhm.
plus one by.
So if we take 1 divided by 8, we get 0.125. And then going just like which is the opposite here, if you multiply by 100, it makes it a percent, or move the decimal to the right too. Any questions on the first three? Oh, I guess I could watch, no, the video won't show the ends. Okay, number 4. For scientific notation, you need to decide where you're gonna put the decimal. So in this case, we wanted to make it a number between 1 and 10, so we put it here between the 5 and the 6. And that's how we got the 5.6. Then we need to decide how many we're moving. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros plus the 5. So we moved 5 positions. And then this number needed to get smaller, so it was a negative. So 5.6 times 10 to the negative 5. Any questions on those? Any questions on that one? Number 5. 3.5 times 10 to the 7. This is a positive 7, so it's going to make this number bigger. And so we move 7 positions starting before the 5, that would be 1. So then there'd be 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, yep. So we started here and we moved 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any questions? This is one from our numbers that we need to know and should memorize. 16 ounces is a pound. Any questions on those? Positive? Let me put some, well, I'll do that while you're doing the other ones. And 10, you have to show some work. Did everyone get this book? So whoever does 10 gets.
Yeah, then like, who you be once?
Of course, come on, you can do another one, I'll help.
Y'all wanna write your name?
We'll do it again next week. You didn't get it. Okay, 2.54 centimeters is an inch. Does everyone agree with that? 5,280 feet in a mile. 36. Does everyone agree 36? That's what I got. How do we find it though?
Multiply.
Uh-huh. 0.12, yep. So we have to write the percent as a decimal, and then of means multiply. So 12% as a decimals. Of means multiply times the 300. Any questions on those three? Here's this one. Is it correct? I went another decimal. Oh, yes. He used proportions, 27 of the 165. So that's one way of doing it. I like to use the wording in the problem. If you did it this way, that's fine and it works. I would have went 27 is means equal my percent times 165. Because of means multiply. What percent of 165? And then I divide by my 165. And get 0.1636. What you need to be careful is this is the decimal and you want the percent. So you multiply it by 100 or move over. And I don't, oh, it does say to round to the 10th. So be careful, this is technically wrong. The 10th would be the 3. Make sure I took a picture.
So doing the work either way is right.
Correct.
Really stuck with it.
Work-wise, either way is right. The rounding, usually what I do on a test, if I have like problems, you have to round a certain position, I'll take off a half a point. And then if you don't miss any other ones, then that half point rounds up, so you don't really lose anything unless you've done it twice. The videos are only showing what's on the screen. They're not showing the board, so I just wanted to put these in there so they have them. Or if you look at it later, you'll have it. This one, I'm just put.
One didn't have to be in.
Correct. Anytime you see a blank, just fill in the blank. Now, on the other homework, though, you need to complete sentences on every problem. But is there any questions on the co-rec? Okay. So those are, other than the last two, quick ones that you should be able to go back and forth quickly. Any questions before I get rid of it? You could always go back to the recording and pause it and you'll have them all there. yesterday I made some hints. Now remember, when you are opening one of my PowerPoints, don't use this little link, the drop down, because it doesn't show anything that I would make from an equation like fractions in particular right now. So download original. So chapter 3, make sure your answers are in complete sentences. I just want to make sure I wanted to make sure it was recording. Number 1, in 2011, the New York Marathon, 46,795 runners finished, as compared to 1981, when only 13,203 finished. What is the percent increase in runners who finished? How could we find that? How do you find a percentage increase with the formulas that we use? Yes, last class. Relative percentage. Remember, relative percent change is new minus old divided by old. Now, the big thing is, if you're entering it all at once, that numerator needs to be in parentheses. Make sure you're not just writing the answer. I want to see that you plug them in, especially since I'm writing the answers on here. So you do have to show your work. You couldn't just put equals. Did anyone get the answer yet? Really large. Anyone? Are you getting 254%? It's a very large one. But don't just give me answers. I want you to write it out, for instance. So I want to see how you're getting your answer. That way, if you plug something in wrong, then I know you understood the problem. You just typed it in wrong. Homework, I would not take off for that. $254.4. Yeah. If you round it to a whole percent, it still would stay a 4. Since I didn't say, it's up to you what you round it to. But if you were rounding to the whole percent, this would stay a 4 because this is less than 5. Is that what everyone's getting? Make sure you write a complete sentence. Bless you. From 1981 to 2011, the New York Marathon increased by 254.4% for the number of finishers, or the number of finishers increased by 254%. Excuse me. But I should understand what that answer is without seeing the problem. I want to put that it's the New York Marathon, that it's from those years, that it increased by 204 finishers. 254%. Any questions on that? Any questions on the last one? Everyone got the value plugging it in, right? Because ask now, you can't ask me during a test. Any questions? Okay. Number 2. In a recent negotiation, the union negotiated a 1.5% raise for all staff. If a staff member's annual salary is $35,000, what is her salary after the raise takes effect? So we know she's making $35,000. She's getting a raise of 1.5%. What could we use to find this? We could use the 1 plus 3. Or we could take 1.5% of 35,000 and then add it on. Either way, whichever way you would think about it, go ahead and do it. I like the 1 plus trick. It skips a step, but either way. When we are doing this, what do we have to remember about the 1.5%? Right, it is a decimal. And what is 1.5% as a decimal? 0.015. So we could go 35. And what do we get for our answer? What is the units? Dollars. Now you could have put a $sign, but now when you're writing your sentence, staff members negotiated a 1.5 raise, which increased their salary to $35,525. Make sure it's a complete sentence and you use the words of the problem. So in second and third and fourth, when your teacher was taking off because you didn't use the words of the problem. Other way. Yeah. So if we took so we know we're taking 1.5% of 35,000. Of means multiply, and this will write as a decimal. So what this is giving us is just the increase, which is 525. Yep. So we got an increase of $525. So we take what the person was making and add the 520. But either way, we'll get you the same. Say that again?
Room to simplicity. Staff members negotiated with.
Right, it was a 1.5% in the problem. So since it was 1.5%, we wrote that as a decimal. So here we just found the increase. When we add it on, this is the new salary. And sometimes you do need that in-between amount. If you go to the store and you buy stuff, it gives you the tax first and then adds it on, and that's the process, the same process. Finding the tax first, giving you that value, and then adding it on your total. Any questions on that? You see the percent now? In January 2010, national health expenditures report stated that overall healthcare spending in the United States rose from 7,421 per person in 2007 to 7,681 per person in 2008. Calculate the absolute change, relative percent change, and find the total amount spent each year on health. So first one, absolute change. How do we find absolute change? New minus old, subtract. When we find absolute change, does it change our units? No. We're subtracting dollars, so our answer is still in dollars. So absolute change is new minus old. And units stay the same, money per person. How much are we getting per person? What's the difference? 260. So when we take the we get the amount spent on healthcare in the United States increased by $260 per person, 2007 to 2008. Some type of sentence that explains that it's healthcare, it's from 2007 to 2008, and it's an increase of $260 per person. So each of these need a sentence. And show your work. So on this one, your work would just be this minus this equals that. But you do have to show your work. Any questions? Okay, part B, relative percent change. How do we find that? New minus old divided by old times 100 to make it a percent. I rounded 1 decimal place. What did we get? Does everyone agree with that? I agree. So from 2007 to 2008, healthcare in the United States increased by 3.5% per person. Any questions on that? Any questions? And C, estimate the total amount spent on healthcare in the United States in 2007 and in 2008. So we'll just start with 2007. If we want to find out how much money was spent on healthcare, we know it was 7,420 $1 per person. How would we find the total? So we need the total population, if we multiply them, because we have. We spent $7,421 per person. If we multiply by the number of people, we'll just have the money that's left, total spent. The only thing you need to be careful of, there was not 340 million people in 2007. We need to find out how many there were. So for 2007 and 2008, you first need to find the populations in that year. Make sure the population is used. Finding 301.2 million people in the US in 2007. How many was there in 2008? And then you just multiply those by the money from that year. 74.21. Lots of zeros.
I've done, like, figure out, or is something.
Yeah, this would be solving it. So 2007, there were 301.2 million people.
Yeah, how did you get that?
Oh, we Googled it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just look up the population of the United States in 2007. Yeah, that's just something you would look up. And in 2008, someone Googled it and found 304.1. You should end up with values in the trillion. That's a lot of money on healthcare. And it keeps going up. When they order my son's, he has allergies and he gets 3 different shots every other week. They ordered it this time and I went in and she said, you have a bill of $500 and some. And I'm like, what? Well, did the healthcare pay for it yet? And she said, yeah, they paid half. I'm like, that just tripled. So during COVID, his shot injections tripled. I just don't understand. And my insurance didn't triple paying. They're still paying the same amount. So, but anyways, it's gone up a lot. So these are prices from 2007 and 8. I couldn't imagine now. But you should be getting, are you getting 2.2 trillion? You don't have to write it all out. Like, let's see. I rounded, but 2,000 million. Too many L's. Oh, there we go. What are we getting for the second one? Anyone? 2 point. Oh, I already put the dollars. Make sure you write those, you could put them together in one sentence, but make sure you have a sentence. The total amount spent on healthcare in the United States in 2007 was $2.2 trillion, and in 2008, $0.3 trillion. Any questions on that? Everyone see it? Yes,
We need to write a sentence for part A, B, and C.
right. So you'll have one sentence for each. This part could be put together as one, you don't have to write these separate, but you should have 3 sentences. If you already turned it in and you had a mistake, just email me it to the correct email. Or send a text of the picture, that's fine too. If you didn't put sentences, just put number 1, write your sentence number 2, and then send me an email that says, I forgot to put sentences, or I didn't put the sentences, and then that will work also. So if you only sent the work, write the sentences, email me. It won't let you reattach, because sometimes when I allow second tries, then students think that if they like left half of them blank, then they can resubmit. But if you did turn it in early, definitely I want you to get all the points. Any other questions on this one? And I think they're starting to get a little harder too. According to a survey conducted in spring 2006 by Northeast Department Advisors, an Acton, Massachusetts research firm, the average monthly rent in Greater Boston was $1,355, an increase of 3.6% from 2005. What is the average monthly rent in 2005? How can we solve this?
Take 1,000.
Zero, be six. But that's-
Okay. It will not get you the correct one. What you want to think about, because a lot of students were saying, use the 1 minus trick, because you're just bringing it down by 3.6%. But remember the problem we did where the boss came in and said he did the books and he needed to take 10% off your pay? But then you put 10% back on and it wasn't the same. The same thing happens here. You can't just take that 3.6% back off. It doesn't work that way when you're talking about percents. So what you want to think about, we have the old rent. And then we put a 1 plus 3.6%. And that equals the new.
Boy,
Yeah. I can't, yeah, actually, there is one other way, but it's more complicated, but I can show you it. No, because I went to do it and I'm like, oh, this would be so much more complicated. But I'll show. So old is what we're looking for. This is the 2000, was it 6? 2005. This is 2006. Because we took the old rent, did the 1+ trick to get the new one. Now, if you did it the other way, you'll see it's gonna be off, not by much, maybe $1 or $2. So we have our 2005 rent, 1 plus the 0.036. And our new rent, which was $13.55.
They literally just have one to the customer.
Yeah. So if we were going to solve that then for R, how do we get rid of the 1.036? Because we're multiplying, to get rid of it, we divide. What does R equal? 1307.92. In 2005, the average monthly rent in Greater Boston was $1,307.92. In 2005, in Greater Boston, the average rent was $1,307.92. The other way of doing it would be relative percent change. Well, remember, it's new minus old. New is the 1355 minus the old rent we don't know, divided by the old rent times 100 is 3.6. So if you were going to do it without the 1+ trick, you'd have to use relative percent change, but notice we have 2 variables. It can get really complicated. We first divide by the 100 to get rid of it. Notice we're getting our decimal, which we put up here. To get rid of, how can we get rid of this R in the bottom? Multiply to both sides, so then it will cancel. How do we move this R to the other side? If we're subtracting, we should. Now, when we add these, because they're like terms, this is 1R plus the 0.036 makes 1.036 R, which is what we had right here. Um, 1307. You're welcome. Yeah, when I started and I'm like, no, this is a lot more confusing. Algebra skills are good. This isn't a difficult way, but either way. Now, if you did it with the minus R, or just found the percent from the 1355, you're getting a little bit different. I think you got 1304 or something in the other file. I'm recording this though, so it'll be put up and you can see the other thing. Let me know if you have a question. Any questions on that one? Oh wow, we got through fast. The Boston, was there any questions on the last problem? I just, no, there wasn't another part to it, right? It seemed like it just went so fast. Okay. Boston Globe on June 30th, 2010 stated that a maximum deal for LeBron James would start at $16.56 million at the minimum, and increase by 8% each season over a 5-year period. So use the 1+ trick 4 times. The reason you only need it 4 times to get the 5th season is because the first season is this one. So then you do it 4 more times to get. We're going to use the 1+ trick. The second part, in the 5 seasons, James will get, oh, don't forget to write this as a complete sentence. I think I said that. In the 5 seasons, James will get 4 8% increases. Remember, we've talked about adding percents together, like 30% off and 20% off is not 50% off. Same thing here. If you take all 4 of the 8% increases, it adds up to 32%. And you want to see that they are not the same, and you're going to compare them, so you're going to explain why they're not. But let's start with per day. So use the 1+ trick. How do you write 8% as a decimal? So our first season is 16,560,000. The second one, we use the 1+ trick, and so on. I want one. There we go. No, make sure you show your work. So I want to see all 5 seasons. So do all 5 seasons. Well, you only have to do 4. The first season is this one. This is the second, 3, 4, 5. Does anyone want to say what he's making in the 5th year? 22 million, 22.5 million. 22.5. So by the 5th season, LeBron James will be minimum of $22.5 million. And that is a minimum because it said the minimum he'd be making is 16.56, so he could get more than that. But we know it's not less than that. So the $22.5 million is the minimum amount. He could be making more. Make sure you end in a sentence. So you should have $22,529,697.18. But 22.5 million is fine, but you do need to show the work. Yes,
For each season, or we can just combine them all?
just the final season.
Okay.
Yeah, because they just want to know how much he made in the 5th season.
Oh.
Work-wise, I want to see each season, but sentence-wise, just the 5th. So one sentence. Now, B, you might need more than one sentence when you're comparing. But A, you only need to say the 5th season, which you should be getting is 22.5 million. Or you could write that whole thing out. Is everyone getting 22.5? Any questions on it? Okay. If we want to find the 32% increase, what should we do with his $62.56 million? How do we find 3.6 for part B? 32% increase. How do you find it? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You can. We could find 32% of it. Once we find that, what do we have to remember to do? Because that would only be the increase. So then to find the total amount, add it on. Or another way, 1 plus trick. Either way, gets you the same answer. So we could use the 1 plus trick, or we could find 32% of it and then add it back on. Not the answer you received, the one that was given. So the 16.56 million. What's 32% as a decimal? And you should have a value a little less than the last one. Does anyone want to say what we got?
9 million. 159,000.
Yep. So $21,859,200. So you want to compare that answer to the 22.5 million? And explain why they are not the same. So the 34% is lower, right? The other one was 22.5. The reason it's lower is because notice in the first year, the 8% went onto it. So then the next one's not using the 16,560,000. It's using the new salary. So each time there's more that they're putting 8% on. Whereas the 32 is off of the total to start with. So when you're making money off of money, you make more. Which we were talking about in my other class, I think it would be a good problem. If you did get 8% each time, we thought it was a 32% raise. So 8% each time, would that be better or 35% raise in 5 years? I don't know. But equal adding 8 4 times, which is 32%, it's not the same. Any questions on that? When we get into savings accounts and checking accounts, when you're making interest off of interest, you make a lot more than just making it once a year. And we'll discuss this more then. So in this one, your last sentence, you need to compare the 29.9 million to part A, which was 22.5. And a little bit more than they're different. Any questions? Did anyone? Yes, go ahead.
Can you go back to the slide with question number 3 on it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That one's part C. Which one did you want? A and B. So A, we just subtracted them. Let me know and I'll switch to B when you're. Any other questions? Or do you need another to see the file? It was recorded also, so you could always go back and look at them. Did everyone get the attendance sheet? How did it look for people?
Here on Monday, I don't know, I guess.
Just sign
Yeah, I
over
was
my.
here on Monday. Well, I was here on Monday.
Okay, just sign over it. Any other questions? Okay. A little early, but if you do not have any questions, I will see you, Friday. We have a group of. So both of those. Homework.
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, group of 5. Yeah. Group of 5. Oh. Like. Yep. Yeah. Oh. Like, guys, well, literally bouncing into it, so it's You could always send me a picture with you, that's usually the one kind of backyard. You would just be your son, the last week, look at it, quick, and I was like, bring it, but I was like, have a nice day. Thanks, you too.
Yeah.
That's what they do.